So here is my foundational base for this pattern. So I'm going to proceed right now. I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2 and 3. Having chained 3, I turn it over like so. So I yarn it over the hook. Can you see? So I insert into the second loop. This is the first one, but I'll be inserting in the second loop here. Can you see? I bring it out first like so. Then I'm going to bring out the first chain out. Can you see? Then I bring out the first two chains right now. I bring it out. Can you see? So I'm left with the last 2 chains, as you can see. So I'm going to bring it out. So I proceed by yarning it over. Can you see? I insert into the next loop. I bring it out like so first. Then I'm going to bring out this first chain. Can you see? So you can, as you can see, I have 3 chains here. So I will be bringing out these first 2. See? So we are left with 2 chains here. So I'm going to finally bring it out. Then I proceed again. I yarn it over into the next loop. Can you see? So I bring out the first chain first, after which I bring out the first 2 here. I bring out this first 2, then I proceed by bringing out the last 2 here. So right now we have completed this. So the next thing, I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2. So having chained 2, I'm going to yarn it over. So I will be inserting in the third loop at the base. So let's count. I have 1, 2, 3. So I will be inserting in this third one at the base. So I first bring out that one, after which I bring out the first 2. Can you see? So I'm left with 2, then I bring it out. Can you see? So right now I'm going to chain 2. These 2 I will be chaining is to form a triangular shape. So this is 1, then 2. Having chained these 2, I'm going to yarn it over like so. Can you see? I've yarned it over. Then I insert into that same loop. Okay, then I proceed. I bring this first one out as usual. Then I bring out the first 2 chains out. Then the final 2 chains, I bring it out. Can you see? It has given, what I can see here is triangular shape. So right now I'm going to proceed. I'm going to chain 2 again, 1 and 2. Now having chained these 2, I will still yarn it over my hook. Then I'm going to insert in the third loop. So let's count 1, 2, 3. I hope you are catching up with me. So I bring out this first one. Can you see? Then I proceed by bringing out these first 2. Can you see? Then I finally bring out the last 2. So right now I'm going to proceed. I will yarn it over. I will insert into the next loop here. I bring out this first. I proceed by bringing out the first 2 chains. Then I bring out the final one. I yarn it over again. I proceed into the next loop. Can you see? I bring out this first, then the first 2, then the last 2 chains. So we are making 6 on this. No, we have 3 already. 1, 2, 3. So I proceed. I yarn it over into the next loop. Can you see? Then the first 2 chains, I bring it out, and the last 2 chains, I bring it out. So I proceed. I yarn it over. I insert into the next loop. Can you see? Okay, I bring out the first one, after which I bring out the first two, then the last two chains. So I proceed, I insert into the next loop, I bring out the first one, then the first two, then the last two. As you can see, we have 6 there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have completed this. So I'm going to repeat what I have here again. So I'm going to chain 2, 1 and 2. Having chained 2, I yarn it over my hook. Can you see? So right now I'll be inserting in the third loop as we did the other time. 1, 2, 3. Can you see? So I bring this first one out, then I'm bringing out the first two, then I'm bringing out the last two chain. Can you see? So right now I will chain 2, 1 and 2. So we want to form another triangular shape, so I will yarn it over like so. I insert into that same loop to form our triangular shape. So I bring the first one out like so. Can you see? So I bring out the first two chain out. So the last two chain I bring it out. Can you see? So right now I'm going to chain 2, 1 and 2. So I'm going to yarn it over like so. Then I'm going to insert into the third loop at the base. So let's count again. 1, 2, 3. So I bring out the first one, then I bring out the first two, then I bring out the last two chains. So right now I proceed. Now I yarn it over into the next loop to give me the sixth one I did the other time. So I want to believe that you are catching up with me. That's the essence of all this. So right now I proceed, I yarn it over, I insert into the next loop. Okay, I bring out the first one chain, then the next two chains, then the last two chains. So I proceed. Remember, it's 6 we are making here, so I proceed like that, and you see. So I bring it out, then I yarn it over, I insert into the next loop, I bring out that, then I proceed bringing out the first two, then the last two, then I proceed, I yarn it over into the next loop, bring out the first one chain, then the first two chains, then the last two chains. Can you see? So this is how we are going to repeat this till I get to the end of this round. So as you can see, I've completed this round. Can you see? So right now I'm going to proceed. I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, then 3. Now having chained these 3, I turn it like so again, I yarn it over, so into the second loop. This is the first loop, but I will be inserting into the second loop here. So I'm going to proceed. So I bring out the first chain, then I bring out the first two chains, then the last two chains I bring it out. So right now I'm going to yarn it over into the next loop. So I bring out the first chain, then followed by the first two chain here, then followed by the last two chains. So I'm going to proceed right now. I yarn it over, into the next loop here. Sorry, into this next loop. So bring it out, the first one, followed by first 2 chains, then the last 2 chains. So right now I'm going to proceed. So I will be chaining 2, 1, 2. So having chained 2, I yarn it over into that triangular loops now. So I bring this out first, then I bring out the first 2 chains, then I bring out the last 2 chains. So I'm going to chain 2. Can you see? 1, 2. So having chained 2, I yarn it over into that same loop to give me another triangular shape. Okay, so I bring out the first chain, then the first 2 chains, then the last 2 chains. Can you see? So I've got another triangular shape on that. So right now I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2. So having chained 2, I yarn it over. So I'm going to proceed into this place. So I take that again. So I yarn it over into this loop here. So I bring out the first one, then the first 2 chains, and the last 2 chains. So I proceed into the next loop. First one, I bring it out, followed by the first 2 chains. Then I proceed again. This time around I'm going to chain 1. I have 1. So I yarn it over. I'm going to skip 2. So I insert here, and I bring out the first 2 chain and the last one. So right now I'm going to proceed. I yarn it over. Okay, I'm going to insert into the last loop here, then I bring this out first, after which I bring out the first 2, then the last 2 chain. Can you see? So right now I'm going to proceed. I'm going to chain 2, 1 and 2. So I yarn it over. I'm going to insert into this triangular loop, and you see I bring that one out first, then the first 2 chains, then the last 2 chains. So I'm going to chain 2. So 1, 2, I yarn it over, I insert into that same triangular loop to give me another one. So I bring out the first 1 chain, then followed by the first 2 chains, then the last 2 chains. Can you see? I've got another one. So I'm going to proceed. I'm going to chain 2, 1 and 2. Now I yarn it over. I insert into this loop here. Okay, so I bring out the first 1 chain, followed by the first 2 chains, then followed by the last 2 chains here. I proceed into the next loop. So I bring out this. Okay, bring out the first 2 chains and the last 2 chains. So right now I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2. I'm going to chain 1, rather I yarn it over. I'm going to insert here. I've skipped 2 chains at the base there, so I'm inserting I've inserted into the third loop at the base. Can you see? So I bring this out and I bring this out. So I yarn it over into the last one I have here. So I bring this out first, then I bring the first two, then the last two. Can you see? So this is how I'm going to repeat it, this part, this round, till I complete it. Now, as you can see, I've completed this round. So right now I'm going to proceed. So I will be chaining another 3, 1, 2, then 3. So having chained 3, I turn it again like so. Can you see? So I yarn it over into the second loop, 1, 2. I bring out the first one, then the first 2 chains, then the last 2 chains. So I proceed, I yarn it over, I insert into this next loop, I bring it out like so. So I'll bring out the first 1 chain as usual, then I bring out the first 2 chains. The first 2 chains, I'm going to bring it out, sorry. So I'm going to bring out the last 2 chains. Can you see? So right now I proceed again. So I insert into the next loop, sorry, into the next loop. So I bring it out like so first, then I bring out the first 1 chain. Can you see? So right now, so I bring out the first 2 chains. Can you see? Then the last 2 chains, I bring it out. Can you see? So right now I'm going to proceed. Right now I'm going to chain 2. So this is 1 and this is 2. So having chained 2, I yarn it over like so. I insert into that triangular shape. So I'm going to bring it out. Then I bring out the first 1 chain, then followed by the next 2 chains. I bring it out, and you see, then followed by the last 2 chains. Now I'm going to chain 2. I will be forming another triangular shape in this loop, so I will chain 2 right now, 1, then 2. Having chained 2, I yarn it over into that the triangular base, so to form another one. So I bring out that first one, then I bring out the first 2 chains, then the last 2 chains. Can you see? So I form another one. So right now I'm going to proceed. I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2. So having chained 2, I yarn it over. I'm going to insert here. Okay, so I bring it out first. So I bring out the first 1 chain, followed by the first 2 chains and the last 2 chains. You see? So right now I'm going to proceed. I yarn it over into the next loop. Okay, I bring out that first one, followed by the next 2 chains, then followed by the last 2 chains. So I yarn it over again into this loop. I will be making 2 in it. So this is the first one. So I bring out this, then the first 2 chains, then the last 2 chains. Remember I say 2 in this, so we are left with 1 to complete the 2. I insert again bring it out. I bring out the first one chain, followed by the next two chains and the last two chains. So right now I'm going to proceed. I yarn it over, okay, into this loop. Bring out this, bring it out. Can you see? Then the last two chains. Then we are left with one. Okay, I bring it out. Can you see? So right now, if you can see, we have completed the first set of this pattern. So we want to repeat another one, and the another one, the foundation of another one starts from here. If you remember, I make 6 here. Now if you count this one, you discover it's 6. 1 2 3 4 5 6. So this is how I'm going to proceed till I round up this. So as you can see, I've completed that round. So right now I'm going to proceed again by chaining 3. 1 2 3. Can you see? So right now I turn it again like so. So I yarn it over, then I insert into the second loop as usual. I bring out this first as usual, then the first two chains and the last two chains, and I proceed into the next loop. I bring out that one chain first, after which I bring out the first two chains, okay, then the last two chains I bring out. So I proceed. So I insert, I bring out that one first, then the first two chains and the last two chains. So right now I'm going to chain 2, 1 2. Okay, I yarn it over into our triangular shape. So I bring out that one first, followed by the two chains, then the last two chains, then I chain 2, 1 2. So having chained 2, I yarn it over into that same triangular loop. Can you see? So I bring this out first, followed by the first two chains, then followed by the last two chains. Can you see? So right now I chain 2 again, 1 2. Having chained 2, I yarn it over the hook, then I insert right here. So I'm going to proceed right now. So I'm going to bring out the first one. Can you see? Then followed by the next two chains and the last one. Can you see? So right now I proceed normally, then the next loop, bring out the first one, followed by the first two, then the last two. So right now I'm going to chain 1. So I'm going to skip 2 at the base, 1 2. I'll be inserting in the third loop, then I bring out that one first, followed by the next 2 and the last 2. So I yarn it over into the next loop, bring out that. So bring out the first one chain, followed by the next 2, then the last 2. Can you see? So what I have here is what I have here. This is the completion of another set. Remember, this is a set, while this is another set. So this is how I'm going to proceed. So right now I'm going to chain 2, 1 and 2. then I yarn it over into the triangular shape. Then I bring that one out first, followed by the first two chains and the last two chains. Then I chain two to form another triangle, 1 2. Then I insert into that same triangular shape. So I bring out that first, followed by the next two and the last two. You see another one has been formed. So I'm going to chain 2, 1 and 2. So I insert into this place. Okay, then we proceed like that. I want to believe that this is enough for you to be able to practice and get it at once. So that is the essence of why I'm so slow like this, especially for our beginners. So right now I'm going to proceed. Can you see I've yarned it over the hook, then I proceed. Okay, I bring that out first, I bring this out, then I bring this out. So right now I'm going to chain 1. I've chained 1, haven't chained 1, so right now I yarn it over. I'm going to skip 2 at the base, so I'll be inserting into the third loop. So 1 2, this is the 2 I'm skipping, then that's why I will be inserting into the third loop. And you see, bring out that one first, followed by the next 2, then followed by the last 2. And you see what I have here is what has been formed here. Okay, and what I have here is what has been formed here. So this is how this pattern is going to be repeated till I complete this tutorial. So far so good. Have come to the end of this tutorial. Can you see? So this is how this pattern is going to be repeated till we complete whatever we want to use this pattern to make, like covers of different kinds. Thanks for watching this tutorial. If you like this video, you can click on the liking button just to appreciate this work. And if you have not subscribed this channel, subscribe this channel and put on your notification bell. Thanks for watching. Till we meet again. Bye for now.